Howdy, howdy, folks. We are back at the Waldport Community Center where we'll be attending the City Council session tonight for February. I would be very surprised if there was not more conversation this evening about the property owned by the city that's been colloquially named Dan's Dump. In reaching out and speaking with people, I haven't heard of anyone getting trespassing charges for going onto that property and taking the pictures showing it to be a dump site. I wonder and am speculating if maybe that has anything to do with the property being deeded to the city to be a park. It was supposed to have an ADA compliant trail and a placard commemorating the donor. I'm wondering if that has anything to do with it. Also, as well as that, folks, I would like to comment about anonymous records request. I have recently had communication with the district attorney, Jenna Wallace, who has taken time to go back and look at the situation from about 8 months ago where I tried to submit anonymous records request. If you want to check out the conversation that her, myself, and Mr. Cutter have been having, it's right here. It would seem that in the state of Oregon, folks, you can make anonymous records requests. There are, and Mr. Cutter would definitely make sure you know this, there are some exceptions to this rule, but in large, you can make anonymous records requests. So anyone in Waldport, if you have a records request and are in fear of retaliation, you can submit this anonymously. I think that's what I have for you right now, folks. Let's get in there and see how it goes.
With that, is council ready to start?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Welcome, everyone, to City Council February 12th City Council meeting. Can we call to order?
Mayor Lambert,
Here.
Council President Dunn,
Here.
Councilor Booth,
Here.
Councilor Woodruff, here, Councilor Morris, here, Councilor Seaverson,
Here.
Councilor Townsend.
Here.
The quorum is present.
Excellent, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Most of us are used to this new building now, but just for those who haven't been here before, the emergency exits are back there, here, and through the front door. I told the front door is sticky, but I don't think it's on the way out, only on the way in, hopefully. There's public restrooms, and please turn your ringers off. Thank you. With that, we'll go to the consent agenda. Council have any discussion?
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain from the minutes as I was not here.
And I will abstain as well, because I was not here either.
Okay, that was Townsend for a second.
Yes.
Okay, then on to public comment. And it looks like we have AJ.
Howdy, council. Thank you for having me up here. I just wanted to comment about public records requests and how we can do them anonymously. I have been in communication with the district attorney, Jenna Wallace, as Mr. Cutter has recommended to me, and she has confirmed that we can do records requests anonymously. And just so everyone in the audience knows as well. Thank you.
Thank you, AJ. Then discussion action item 4A, memorial bench follow-up. Does this council have any discussion?
Is that the only person? Thank you.
There was public comment, I guess, from Teresa Carter, that's in
Oh,
red.
yeah,
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess it will be included in the packet for the minutes.
And then there's, right.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, then off to 4A, we're talking about the request for memorial benches. We asked staff to give us a report. We came back with a cost from the local municipalities. I think we're on page 12. Yeah, so there you go. Any discussion?
Yes.
I'm wondering if there isn't an option that's less expensive, like plaques or something else creative where it didn't cost a person 5,000 plus whatever the long-term maintenance cost is. Because it seems it kind of limits who can do it, who can afford to do it.
I think that's a great point. In Depot Bay, I noticed says that they don't do the benches, but they have their plaque wall. So that's very similar.
Yeah, they could just, I mean, I think about the post office with all the people from fire district that would get on the wall,
It's right here in the hallway too.
yeah, right. And I thought also of, everybody that's been on council, but of course that could also be on the website, a list of everyone who's ever been on council. So I was just hoping there maybe was a less expensive, I mean, this option's fine if somebody's able and willing to do that, but maybe we could think of another option that would be more affordable.
Well, you see other cities not doing it no more, so that
Yeah.
kind of tells me they had issues.
That there was
And they're like-
issues, yeah. Did you get comments from the other cities that aren't doing it any longer as far as why?
Exactly as suggested. They had some issues. They had people who were putting up benches and then they were getting vandalized by people who were not fans of theirs in town.
Yeah.
Newport has really struggled with that on the Bayfront.
Councilor Townsend?
Might be helpful. The wayside across the street here, the benches are wood. And the wood has been there a long time and is in pretty sad shape. And I think replacing that with composite material would make sense. And, maybe that's worth a plaque. A smaller one maybe or something. I'm just thinking, if that might be an option where we wouldn't have to start from zero, but we could refresh.
I like that idea. So you're saying replace the benches we have with composite, but then offer it like a plaque-like option, that would make it less expensive
possibility.
and less to maintain as well, right? As a family is asking for 20-year. Sadly, if your spouse, it's hard for aging folks to make a commitment 20 years in advance. If they're in their 90s or whatnot. And the expenses of it is phenomenal.
I mean, it might even be possible, and maybe the donors wouldn't want this, but for instance, if there was a composite bench, I mean, there could be maybe like 4 plaques on a bench.
Yeah, break it down.
So that it is
Yeah,
more
it
easily done.
It looks like in this report, it also says like the people are asking for benches or tables. So I mean, that might be maybe another thing that was, like you're talking about a plaque wall, plaque bench, or a plaque table. Or I really like Jerry's idea, or Councilor Thompson's idea of repairing the benches we have and offering opportunity to put a little.
So are you thinking like a sponsorship of that bench? Like we provide the bench and pay for the bench, but then someone would like sponsor that bench and put their plaque on it? Is that what we're referring to?
Well, that's what the Newport does, is they have those memorial benches on Fort 5, I believe it is.
It looks like they have a 10-year sponsorship requirement.
Yeah, I was hoping that we had like the packets of what people fill out and how the agreement is. Is that possible to get from Newport? Like the actual,
Certainly could.
because it'd be interesting just to see what the packet looks like and see what Lincoln City.
Well, and also, I mean, like the aquarium and lots of places have tiles. We could have an area in the park that could handle like tiles, and that shouldn't be.
I got some feedback on that.
Okay,
They don't love it.
because,
So the challenge is the families come and they expect their tile, especially ground bricks,
Yeah,
which is what the aquarium did, and they expect them to be there forever. Often, they get worn or damaged over time, and then they get what was a very pleasant experience with somebody who's really excited about it, now becomes a disgruntled experience when they find out that the A in their name has been chipped by somebody walking by or just over time worn down and you can't read it anymore. We had a similar experience at Hatfield with a donor wall, where over time, the exhibits changed and things got moved, and people expected the plaque and the thing that they had bought was still going to be there, and when it wasn't there, and that's why a lot of the municipalities have a subscription, so that there's an expectation of costs over time. And that's one of the biggest challenges is buying the benches of fixed costs. And we did find benches that would be satisfactory for a lot cheaper than what we had started seeing as we got into it. But the maintenance over time became an issue. One of the things we talked about with Newport was vandalism, where especially, unfortunately, it's the sheriff's office or the representation of the police department's bench that gets vandalized pretty regularly, unfortunately, on Newport Bayfront. And they've had volunteers go back and rebuild it and repaint it numerous times. But that's a real problem, a real concern. So it is an ongoing cost and accepting them. So what's really spurring this is we have one family member who's very eager to put a bench way out on the Kittle Coffin Trail. And there are a number of benches that got put there years ago. We have the city has no information on them at all that we can find. But they would really like to add one to that, and they're willing to pay, $3,000-4,000 to get it set up, and a maintenance fee. And so they're frustrated because they've gone to many other communities like Yahoo. And been told no.
What happened to the family where the father was lost at sea in the kayak? And they kept asking to do a memorial, and I believe that it was.
There's a small thing over at the wayside.
So there's a little plant, and how did that happen? Did you charge them for that, or?
We did not. That got put up without kind of our permission or authority.
Oh, I thought
They
they
want-
wanted for it.
They wanted it up on the seawall up there, and we don't own that portion. That's actually ODOT's. So I think I don't know where is it.
It's over at Kitty Wayside.
Keyway side. So they probably put it up without talking to her, which, happens. I mean, that, like I said, at the time, that is when the council adopted that we don't do memorial walls, or we would have a whole series of them. And so in general, we've avoided doing that, the council's avoided doing that, because we don't want the town to turn into a, kind of, that everywhere you turn, there's somebody's plaque, and that Public Works is spending a lot of time maintaining them. We're trying to we've got plaques that I don't even know who they are down at the interpretive center that we inherited from ODOT, that at some point, we've got to replace that bench or that something, and we're gonna have to figure out who they were and whether the family can help contribute to replacing it, to replace the plaque.
I got a suggestion, but I just thought it up with the high school, because the high school has their shop. And I know that they have that laser, I don't know.
Metal cutter,
Yeah, thank you, like engraver and metal cutter, because I've seen them do like the whales and the fish that they hang from the chain. I wonder if they could make stuff, something like a tile or some sort of image that we could then mosaic onto the cement wall that goes around the playground. So it'd be like
What's the matter?
Well, we talked
the
about,
retaining wall,
we talked about a sponsorship, I thought, for people to donate to the playground and doing a plaque too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever decided on
Formalized it,
it, but seriously, like
I was
I
just
can't
trying to
use the
think of
word.
how we could
yeah,
work with the high school and the youth and do something that maybe was more affordable. And
Is that gonna be a retaining wall?
I guess
The
so.
hill?
yeah, I guess I was just saying at the park. I guess I was
Yeah,
saying at
the
the
intention
park.
of that wall is that it will be eventually sloped away, and that it's not supposed to be a drop.
Be like a 6-foot flat and right at the cement level.
Against the hillside, is that what we're talking about?
No, if you look at the playground,
Yeah.
the playground has a surrounding perimeter
Okay,
of
and
concrete.
it's raised.
It's raised,
Okay,
and the intention was never that was gonna be a
a follow.
permanent drop off.
Okay.
It's supposed to be sloped up to it and then
It already
in
is.
flat space, in most cases, yeah.
What is that plaque? The very first bench on the trail, there was a huge plaque.
That's Jack. He was a counselor and died.
That's in really good condition. How long has that been there?
not terribly, of course, time flies.
Maybe
10
we should,
years.
maybe we should map where we have plaques and what plaques we have
Yeah,
and
exactly.
maybe work on building on what we already have.
A plaque
I think we still
inventory.
need to think about the plan moving forward, like, yes, we should map that, and we should know what we have, absolutely. But what are we gonna do moving forward is the question.
I would like more information myself, and so I personally would like to hold this off until we get a little more information.
How long have we been holding
Yeah,
this
we,
family
this
off?
is,
No.
yeah,
About 3-4 months. They're a little
Oh,
frustrated.
yeah, because this is the second time it's brought it back.
And we just need we just need a guiding principle that says that it's allowed. That way we can move forward with them designing a plaque, them or us getting a bench. And then as I bring you ideas in terms of more affordable options or less. Now, this family in particular is looking for a bench on the Coffin Trail. That's what's important to them. And they're willing to pay for the bench. They're willing to pay for the installation. They're willing to pay for a plaque. I totally understand that what I am hearing is that we want options for those who aren't going to be able to reach
Yeah,
into deep pockets and to be able to recognize the problems.
Yeah, like a policy that's for everyone and not just one family.
Exactly.
yeah,
And I think if we adopt a policy that basically says, we allow this,
right.
and that the city has gradient of options, and we allow this to proceed, and then we allow us to come back and create options
Yeah,
for you,
yeah.
including some locations, because I do think that we have to be sensitive about where some of the locations are, the contents of some of the plaques, what's allowed to say, what you're not allowed to say. I can think of some gravestones I've seen that, that somebody was a little bitter when somebody passed. And, so we do want to be careful that we keep it, appropriate. And we also want to acknowledge that there are some people who contribute. And I'm thinking, for example, last year we honored the park over here with Kendall Field. We want to make sure that we're not then stacking a bunch of memorials in some place that was
It's
dedicated
already a
and is
memorial.
kind of
Yeah.
honored as a memorial.
Well, I guess my thought is, yeah, I mean, you have a family who wants to do it. If we knew what we wanted to charge, then I don't have any objection to going ahead and getting that done, but I do want it to be open to adding
Different things.
Different
more
things.
options.
I think it's important that if we do have any charge level, just in fairness to citizens here, that they're not subsidizing, say, somebody from out of town who really loves the coast and want a memorial, that we at least have a baseline established that if somebody wants a bench or a picnic table or, a basketball court, that they're paying for that portion of that being installed. And I think we can come up with gradient options for people who just can't afford that. But the reality is the Schnitzer Hall is not called the Schnitzer Hall because, the person set up in front of it. It's because Arlene Schnitzel had quite a bit of money.
So right now the policy is written about a bench and it's got a price on it. I'm assuming this is the policy that we're being asked to pass. So I'm hearing from some of you that we want more information. And I'm hearing from some of us that we want more options. And I hear some of us who say they want to make a decision. So does anyone have a motion?
I don't know if this,
I don't know what the motion is.
because Lincoln City did that, I don't know if that's what's being proposed, or that was just part of the report.
Oh, it just says bench policy. And then under staff recommendation is asking for a motion to approve this policy.
As described, yeah, but there's no number,
But there's no
no
actual
number to.
No, it says on the last sentence, I have to
I
get
know,
my
we can
glasses,
change it, can't we?
guys.
Fees
Well,
and costs determined by a real quote, is that?
I'm
that's
just
not-
saying that we are either gonna we either make a motion to pass this policy, or we make a motion, we change the policy. Or we ask for more information and come back to review the policy with more information. And so I'm just asking what you would like to do. Cause it sounds like we could discuss this, it sounds like we all are very creative about what we think could happen, and I encourage that, but for the sake of time.
Well, is there any problem with the policy as it's described, separate from the cost? Or is it a real-time quote? Is it gonna be changeable as price is changed.
This
That's
is,
the
this is
idea.
pricing for the installation and maintenance of the bench shall include the estimate of the labor, so that would change. For the
Right,
location, that's a variable. For the installation by a third-party contractor, full cost of the bench, so that means, I guess, that they get to decide the bench or have some choice on the
Yeah,
bench.
they'll have some choice, yeah.
Which must be purchased through the city, and a maintenance fee, but we don't know what that maintenance fee is, which will secure a normal maintenance of the bench for a period of 20 years. So maintenance fee of a bench for 20 years. Benches shall be planned for a 20-year lifespan. So is that the wording?
So
that
we're
you-
not gonna decide on a cost, because it's gonna be
It's gonna vary.
depending on when they ask for a bench, it's
Or-
gonna be.
And what it is.
Or we could ask for there to be more, like, I would like to see the form that the policy's proposing, and it would be nice to say what the maintenance fee would be. Because, and also that's, again, I have a hard
Can we
time with
do that?
20 years, because
20 years
what's the
is a long
maintenance
time.
and fee of the bench
Well,
10
right.
years from now?
But it's gonna
In my
last
mind,
20
that would be
years.
like a lump sum and it would be spread out over 20 years, but I guess
Is that?
that's
we
what
did
my mind
upfront?
is thinking.
Okay.
When I contact several manufacturers, they would sell limited 20-year warranties on the bench.
Okay.
That would allow us to say, okay, for these 1,500, one of the things that I did not put in this, but would be totally reasonable, would simply be when we get there, because we get a few of these a year, but we don't get them every day,
Right.
would simply be to put the package together and bring it to council for approval for everyone.
I think that sounds good.
Yeah, so if we add that,
We could absolutely, have that be that, the
as part of,
policy
as
shall
part of the
contain,
policy.
it will be brought to, at the request,
Yeah.
package, the form, the whole presentation will be put together and brought to council, including location, material, color,
Anything
because,
else?
if I die, a bunch of orange
for
benches
everyone?
everywhere.
Oh, no, I thought you
That's
meant,
a couple of years,
It's
so.
only a couple of
yeah,
years we
yeah,
get.
Yeah.
okay.
And we could, honestly, there is nothing that precludes us looking at the warranties that the bench manufacturers offer, saying 5, 10 to 20, and the person applying, selecting which one they can afford, and bringing that to you all, so that you can approve.
I think it'd be great to have a blanket policy packet and to be able to approve it all at once. That's what I would like
What do
to
you, what do you mean? I'm sorry.
Well, like, I'd like to just see the packet of what it would look like and what the options are and how it would look, like if I was to buy a memorial anything.
Like you say, this bench has a 10-year warranty, this bench has a 15
Yeah.
for this price.
And then we pass that as a policy, like, this is the packet that we're gonna provide to anyone who comes inquiring.
And then we can add to it later, like if we want to do plaques and things like that, that
Right.
at least have a
of course.
base to start.
So I was saying, like, see the format of the,
The form, is that all you're worried about, is the form?
or the packet, or whatever
Okay,
you wanna
because the
call it.
packet will be different for everyone, I would assume,
Based on location.
based on
What they're
location, what they
requesting.
want, how much they're willing to
Yeah,
pay,
it
for
would
how
be-
long.
It would be very, very, if somebody say, for example,
Right.
wants a bench in Southwood Park, by the playground. The cost associated with that and the maintenance associated with that, and what they choose might be very different than, say, somebody who wants a small bench sitting up in the Kittlecoffin Trail, or someplace else in town, we now have this beautiful sidewalk along Crestline Drive. We may get someone who spends, there are several seniors I know who regularly walk Crestline Drive. And they might wanna have a bench just off the sidewalk
Right.
that they can say, hey,
Yeah.
we bought that bench, so those, because we did the mile back to the school and back, and it would be nice to sit. And that, the maintenance on that is gonna be very different than something down here in the sea level, sea area.
I know, so don't you just rewrite this policy saying that we'll do it case by case?
I would bring it to the council, we would have a form, as the mayor's suggestion, we would have a generic form, but it would have, bench, table, whatever, the location desired, and then we would get quotes from contractors on what it would take. Installing something in Kittlecoffin is a lot more expensive to get the concrete up there than it is, say, for example, at Southwood Park, where they can literally just drive up, carry the bags over and dig.
Okay, so what are we doing?
Rewrite it to say that.
Yeah.
That's
We're
what I would
rewriting
say.
That's what I'm-
So bring it back next
I
month.
think so, I don't think that this says what, I mean, I think a lot of us agree that it can be case by case, and then so that needs to be said in the policy.
Okay,
I don't know.
so we're gonna
And then
direct,
it's come to council.
Yeah,
so we're directing city manager to reconstruct the policy for us for the next meeting,
Including the form.
include the form, and then we can pass it, and then we can get the bench.
yeah,
Yes.
get it
Okay.
going.
So tell
And
me,
I
hang
know-
on, 30 more days.
Okay.
Is everyone comfortable with me giving that information to the potential donor family, that it is a
That's what we're
consensus of the council that they would like to move forward, but they just wanted a little bit more
specific.
formality in the policy?
I would go as far as to say, I would be happy if they would fill out and do the form,
And then we can.
and then
That's
see
actually-
it, what it looks like in action, and they could give us feedback of like, this was hard, we don't wanna be greedy and make these choices, we just wanna put a plaque in somewhere, or this is
Yeah.
great, and we really enjoyed doing
That's
And
a great
approved.
idea. I
As
will-
long as it
Yeah.
can happen next
Yeah.
meeting, so that we
Okay.
can get on with it.
All right, Megan, did you get that noted for March?
Yes, I did.
You get all that,
Can we make a
Megan?
motion on it, or is this a consensus?
Consensus.
Consensus.
Yeah, okay. Next order on the agenda is amending the agenda order of the council rules. Anybody have any discussion?
I like it.
I like it too, I really like it.
Can you guys share why you like it?
I like the part where I feel like, I don't know who I talked to about this, but, it must have been Jerry. We must have had a conversation one day we were sitting here. I don't know if this includes it, so tell me if I'm wrong. Kind of like a chance to like answer questions that were asked of us at the last council meeting, the next one. Like, I think that's really awesome, because a lot of stuff, I feel like it's talked about with the community. And I feel like sometimes it gets like discussed, or like, I know like I say stuff to Dan about stuff that's said, or I ask for information, and then I don't ever report back on it because I've gotten what I feel like I need to know, and it helps influence whatever it is that I'm doing or not. So I really like that part of it for our community.
The part I like is that it breaks it down to old business and new business, so that we don't forget stuff.
I like that too. Yeah. Is there anything that anyone doesn't like about it?
Everything else is pretty much part of a public meetings law, isn't it? Or is there something that?
I wasn't fishing for anything. I was like an opportunity of like, do you have any issues with it? If not, does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll motion.
Okay, we make a motion.
I'll second.
Then we say the
Oh, yeah,
motion
oh.
for Megan, please.
I motion that we bring back a resolution to adopt it at the next meeting.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, well, I should say, was there any nays? I didn't hear, I thought I heard all nays, so unanimously. Okay, next order of business is street vacation request. The city has received a request to vacation a portion of Northeast Edge Cliff Drive enclosed. It's a bit of a process, would take place of the next meeting, so in March. Staff is asking permission to proceed with the process and hearing at the council meeting. Council still elect to say no. Is asking for a motion to approve the request to hold a vacation hearing at the next city council meeting. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm so
So,
big.
And it says vacation, not vacation.
And I'm sorry, Councilor Townsend, you were.
Oh, sorry.
Does vacation mean the street has to go out of state
I
somewhere?
think it
What
just
does it
means
mean?
it gets to order
You
out.
made one of these for going on vacation
Into
yesterday.
not a street.
That's the official term.
Terms of non-street, is that a temporary or permanent?
Permanent.
I don't understand.
So, I'm gonna put a big qualifier on this.
All right.
I brought this to you because this is a process.
Yeah.
And includes a hearing and some other stuff. I wanted permission that if they actually got everything to us, that we could then bring it to you. Because normally our process is they get everything to us, we come to you and ask permission to do it, then we go and spend the money on a hearing. They have asked for that, they've got a letter of interest, but they have not yet got their adjoining property owners to agree. So when you vacate a street, and we don't do this very often, so it's not common, but when you vacate a street or a portion of a street, what you're saying is that street, the property is given to each half of the property owner. So if your next door neighbor across the street and you both have to agree, because you each get an increase in your property line. So street vacations aren't very common. And there are unique circumstances where it makes sense or doesn't make sense. I will not speak to whether it makes sense or not makes sense. I will let our city planner provide a report when it's appropriate.
Can we ask him questions now?
Yeah.
You absolutely can.
Please.
I wanna know where Google says street vacation, I wanna. I couldn't find anything written to tell me what that was, other than going out of state for vacation.
Why does one
It's
ship
what I
say?
Looking at this, I'm looking at this,
Yeah.
and it looks like what we're vacating is the property above the road. If that's what this
Isn't that
is.
very, at the
It's
end,
very sloped, right?
Why
where-
do you vacate it? As I don't think I understand. I don't know if I'm not understanding.
Because then you don't
They say it's not
maintain
needed
it.
Oh, they don't.
Yeah.
We wouldn't, if we vacated it, who's vacating it? We're vacating it to them?
We would be, the property owner, for reasons that Jaime can describe, has potentially asked for a street vacation because of the need to do some things at their property. Whether we grant that or not is entirely up to the council, and should be a matter of, public hearing and deep consideration.
Can we see the request?
This is all, this
Hasn't
is,
yet.
yeah, this is a prelim. This is just, there's a whole bunch of work associated with staff prepping it, and if the council has no interest in doing it, we'd like to know ahead of time before we do all the work.
What's the cost to us?
Yeah, that's, I guess, what I'm.
But here,
Why would,
Is there a cost to us?
there's like no report to know why we would or why we wouldn't do
That's
this.
not at this point.
That's
This is really just, we want to know if the council wants to entertain this request. Normally, we would have two property owners saying, hey, we would love this portion of the street done. We only have one right now. So I was hesitant to even put this in here in the packet right now. But what we're asking is fundamentally, if we get the second request, can we put everything together to bring back to you? The reason being is this is at the end of the street. It's not like it's in the middle of Crestline. There is a benefit to one of the property owners in terms of development of their property, which furthers our goal of providing additional housing units in town. It does allow for less street to have to maintain at the end of a street that's hard to get to anyways. But there are pros and cons of any vacation. Really, this is just we've been asked to do this, there's some costs associated, and there is a street fee associated with vacation, correct? So at the end of the day, we do collect a fee that essentially pays for these costs, but it is a bunch of time, and we don't necessarily want to go down this road if there are strong fundamental objections, just looking at the cursory information. If there's a strong fundamental, in the past when we've done this, there have been objections that would have precluded it ever happening. And we don't want to get into that.
So I'm seeing now, do you guys see where this is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is above
I
Cedar, where
drove up
Cedar
there.
is going down. Is it on
Well,
Cedar
no,
Street?
no,
It's
well-
above Cedar, it's
No,
across,
Crest-
it's
like when you're going down the hill.
Crest
Yeah.
line is going down, not Cedar. The Crest line.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, it's Crestline, not
Right.
Cedar, but going with dyslexia.
And my
Right
concern
above the
is just.
slough, that big
Yeah,
property.
Exactly, is just where is access gonna be for those lots? I'm not seeing
I understand that.
the
Yeah,
big.
so the street, it's Edge Cliff, it's overlooking the sewer plant.
Right.
It's the very last, second to last turn on Crestline as you come down the hill.
Yes,
The properties in question are at the very end of the cul-de-sac.
On the north side of that street or the
Yes.
south side? Not
South side.
Hospital Hill Road, the other.
Oh,
Yeah, the
Okay.
other way.
Ah,
I know it's hard to tell with this
Yeah, I
picture,
can
but you
see
see,
that.
there's,
Tsunami
this is the
evacuation.
slough.
Yes,
Yeah.
the teacher lived up there, I can't think of her name.
And,
Don't say
and
where
so
you're
the
on
street,
top.
the street goes back into a cul-de-sac. The property owners are the very last property on the end of the street. They actually own two lots back there. The street is paved not all the way to the end, it's probably about 150 feet short, and then it's just unmaintained, and it drops off about 15% slope down to where the end of the cul-de-sac would be. So that property owner has requested, or starting to, asking the city council to entertain the request. This is not a yes or no. It is, yeah, we will look at it, and then we will have a public hearing, we'll go out to public notification, we'll notify all the adjacent property owners. We actually post a sign on the street that says, this street from here to here is being looked at to vacate. And what that means is half of the street will go to one property owner, and the other half will go to the adjacent property owner that touches on the other side. And it's roughly about 5,600, 5,700 square feet. And the ownership would then revert to those two property owners.
Councilor Johnson, oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Johnson.
I have two questions that may better be asked later, but I would really like to know now. We're talking about an unpaved piece of a city street.
Yes.
Okay, and the justification from the owner that's proposing doing this is that they would use a part of the street, existing street, to build on,
They're
or
not
partially on.
They're gonna use that to better access the property that is at the very end of the street, which is very difficult, currently very difficult to develop, because it's down the long hill and has a small flat area. The back of the property drops off substantially down to Lindsley Road and to Crest Line on that corner. So if you're passing the city park headed south, and just as you start going up the hill where it gets really steep, that's the property that comes down from the edge cliff down to the crest line. And so at the very top of the property, there's a small spot that is buildable, it's flat. And this would allow them to better access that to get back down into that property.
Okay, I still have two questions. One is,
That's more questions.
Okay.
You're only left three.
when you're ignorant, yeah. Do we maintain those streets at all? And would this remove our responsibility for maintaining the street?
It is a maintained street, but up at the area where they're asking it to be vacated, we do not maintain it because there's no asphalt, there's barely even any gravel or anything down there, so we don't currently do anything to it.
Okay, the last question, I think, is, there's no possibility of further development at the extension of that street, because this is gonna stop the street.
This is the very end of the street, it's the cul-de-sac. We do not have any utilities in that area, we do not have any easements for future utilities in that area. The only thing that's up there is a platted public right-of-way. And for all intents and purposes, it's just platted on paper. We would not extend or improve that street because of the angle, because of the slope, because of the existing condition, and because frankly, it doesn't serve the city any purpose to further develop that street other than what it's currently developed.
Councilor Wood.
Okay, so I drove up there, there was a car parked at the end of the cul-de-sac. And right beyond that, in lower down, was a house. This doesn't show a house, so I'm kind of confused. But my bigger question is, so all the part that's on the south side of the road is a big, steep, and there's nothing, I mean, no houses there, right? Well, there's one right there. But, so if that's not gonna be developed, I just don't know where access to those three lots. But if the same person owns 900 and 910, then that clarifies that part.
Yes,
That must be you.
yes, so that, the 900 and 910 are owned by the same folks that we go on through requesting to vacate.
Okay,
Those three lots down below are technically accessed from Lindsley Road. They do not contact or touch the cul-de-sac, the edge cliff, so they would not be coming off of edge cliff
okay,
in any way.
okay. So, and so they're fine with only having one access to that whole space because they only will drive.
Yes.
No, if you want to talk to, go ahead.
Oh, wait, I actually was just confused right now. I was like, so are you two the folks who are asking? Is that what just happened? Just-
My mother is the property owner.
Okay,
And we're
welcome.
building her an ADU, we're hoping to.
Okay,
And the street vacation will allow us to pave the road to her place and to, sorry, simplify some setbacks and help with
thank you,
construction.
thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you for
That
coming.
means a lot. Yeah, now do you know if your neighbors in agreement?
Yeah, that's what my concern
We
is.
have,
Yeah.
we've reached out to the property owners, it's been about a week, still waiting back.
Okay. Do you mind if council asks you any questions?
I'm happy to answer any and all questions I have.
Right. My only concern I have with this is since we don't have something from the other property owners, if we move forward, then it looks like we are like pushing them to do it. And I don't want it to look like the council is making them do this. So that's my concern.
That's where I was going, when you keep saying if is a real big word.
We don't want them to expend a lot of time and effort, and we don't want to trigger the stuff that we would do until we get the letter of confirmation from the other property.
So Sue, or Councilor Woodruff,
You're fine.
with you driving up there.
Yeah.
Did you, now that you see what they planned,
Yeah,
can you see that now?
well, I know that 910 really does drop off, but that doesn't necessarily make it unbuildable. And if they get half of the road, then they've got depth. Where are you planning to put the ADU, on that second piece?
There's a very small, flat portion of
Okay.
that lot.
I
that
can
we
see
plan
Is
to-
that the lighter spot?
Yeah, I think that is
Well,
a little circle.
round.
Yeah,
stick
right
that's
there, yeah.
scissors. Yeah.
Sorry, I have one.
Yes, please.
My question is maybe for Jaime, maybe for Dan, I don't know who wants to answer it in my crazy mind. What's the pros and what's the cons to us doing this?
We're giving away property.
Oh, we're giving,
So
okay, yeah.
We're giving away property is what we're doing. We're
Okay.
giving away the public right of way. Is I guess one of the things, depending on how you see it.
Okay.
It does allow the property owner a little bit more wiggle room in the development of that second lot. Right now, it's very tough to make setbacks, to meet the setbacks without getting, I never tell people that a lot is unbuildable, because it's very challenging. Challenging means dollars. And so, right now, it's very challenging to meet the setbacks with where the cul-de-sac property line is. If that cul-de-sac property line disappears, then that allows that flat area that we've identified to actually meet all the setbacks, et cetera, and allows them a little bit more wiggle room in the type of development they do, or the structure they end up putting on there. So everything's still in the plans as far as they're looking at. So if there was a utility, if there was a sewer line that went through there, if the road continued on, connected one neighborhood to the other, it would be an absolute no.
Okay, so there's a follow-up
I have a
question. So
follow-up
I'll sit
question.
down.
Does the ADU have the same setbacks as a normal house would? Or it's been a while since we've talked about ADUs.
And can I back to you, because that was my question too, is can they have an ADU there? Like, is it, are they gonna be able to have that? Like, is the space gonna accommodate what they want to do?
It's long. Okay, so currently the lot, as Susan pointed out, there's two lots, there 900 and 910, I think is the other one.
910, right.
The long-term plan is to consolidate those two lots into one single lot, which then allows you to build an ADU. Once you've got a consolidated lot, and there, I believe they're gonna move forward regardless, they're just gonna have to maybe redesign. But they're gonna move forward with consolidation, so they will be able to do the ADU. The ADU technically, has lesser setback requirements, but it still makes it difficult to get down there to access the ADU physically with the way the cul-de-sac, the roadway is laid out. Again, if you bring that property line forward 15, 20 feet, whatever that ends up being, it gives you a little bit more wiggle room in placing that structure.
And then can I ask one more question? About a pro, I just was thinking this is a pro, so we're giving our property, we're giving it back to them, or letting them have it, or, yeah, we're giving it to them,
Yes.
we're not selling it, we're giving it to them. but then that adds to their lot, right? So then
Yeah.
we would actually get taxes back that we wouldn't normally be getting. So how that would work?
Yes. and
Additional
so-
taxes.
Yes, and so what happens is, the property is divided in half, if you will, so it's equitable to both property owners, so they would both receive the same. So one of the things that I did request is that Jordan and his family actually go to the tax assessor, to Lincoln County, and say, if we did this, what are my increase in taxes? So he actually has numbers, so he can go to the neighbor and say, yeah, you're gaining this many square feet, and it will cost you approximately this much more in taxes per year, so they can actually make an educated decision on that. I don't have the numbers, they have the numbers. If you're curious as to what those numbers are, you have to ask them. And this is all part of the next step that we do.
Okay, I have one more question.
Sure.
How often do we ever do this? I would have two more questions. You've done it one other time, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's always case by case?
It's about once a decade and it's absolutely
Okay.
case by case.
It's
Right.
not,
Thanks.
yeah, absolutely, I call it.
Okay.
It happens.
It happens.
Five
In the last 30 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, council, does anyone have any more questions? And does anyone feel comfortable making the motion?
I motion to approve the request to hold the vacation hearing
Once we get the
at the
other
next city
part
council
of it.
meeting.
That'd be great, yeah.
Yeah, once
If
it's
they have
all,
this.
once it's all qualified. It,
Yeah.
You know, might happen in March, might happen in April, might not happen.
Okay.
So
We have a
I'll second.
motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone, go on to this item, say yea, unanimous.
Was that correct for the second?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Sorry about the microphone. Okay. Next item on the agenda, request for insurance carrier regarding recreational immunity. It looks like there was a bill, Senate Bill 179, it passed, and now it's asking us to change, either draft or adapt a local ordinance or resolution about residential immunity. There's a draft that has been attached for adoption.
This just says that we're going off, whatever the state says, right?
Yeah, and there's a summary that the city formally adopted an ordinance or resolution stating it opts into a liability established in ORS 1056682. Does anybody have any discussion?
I have some questions about the extending it automatically to owners of land abutting public easements and then improved rights of ways. So why are we, what's the thinking behind doing that automatically?
So this gets into the gray area of where property boundaries are. It's never really clear. And when we have areas that we have some of our trails, or we have some of our parks that abut private property, there's always a question or a complaint or a legitimate concern from that property owner that people might, you know, go around an obstacle or something else and slip and fall on their piece.
On their feet?
The recommendation from the insurance carrier is that you extend that recreational immunity through this law, as is allowed by the state and this bill, to those incidents where somebody might, you know, be going through a narrow corridor of our trail and just happen to, oh, I don't want to go this way. I mean, as a kid, when I would go with my parents would be on the trail and I would be walking through the stream. You know, it's just one of those situations where the immediate adjoining space, you want to be able to provide some assurance so that property owners aren't resistant to you saying, hey, I want to build a trail.
So that's the good part. I guess my mind is going to, you know, because we have to take care of our trail or whatever, our property, so that, I mean, this gives us immunity, but not if we know about a problem and don't fix it, right? But an adjoining property, if we adjoin it, if we put it off to theirs too, they don't have that same requirement. So are we somehow gonna get liability from somebody who went on their property, had a problem, and now?
So the reality is if somebody hurts themselves, they have to make a conscious decision whether they are going to assign litigation to the city.
Right.
Most of these rules are adopted in relation to the case up in Newport several years ago that changed recreational immunity for all the communities. In that case, what the legislature has done is tried to continue to refine this to address these concerns so that when you do get a tort claim against the city for a recreational use, it's because of gross negligence. It's not just because a tree fell down, the city was told the tree, didn't cut it, and somebody climbed over the tree and fell. What they're looking at here is, as the city just decided, this is horrible, but, we want people to get hurt, so it happened. Really, this is just providing that generalized protection so that if somebody is, and I'll use the example of our new sidewalk. If somebody is jogging along our new sidewalk and trips and falls, and as a result of their fall, they bypass the fence somehow and roll down the hill, well, technically that's the adjoining property.
Yes.
And we're extending the fact that they injured themselves as part of that recreation. And yes, that property owner should share that same immunity from someone who just happened to trip and fall into there.
But that wouldn't be negligence on their part. So if it was negligence on their part, how would that impact the city?
If it's negligence that let's say that property owner erects a wall of spikes, that obviously, if you can show certain negligence, that bypasses what this is doing. What this is doing is establishing immunity for their actions if that there is no known direct negligence.
Okay, so if there is negligence.
If there is negligence, it bypasses this anyway.
It will bypass the city and it will just be their problem, or will it?
Everyone will still get sued. I mean, we have to be, any litigator is gonna sue every party involved, and then each respondent will limit or eliminate their liability. So you get in an auto crash, they sue the car manufacturer, they sue you, they sue, everybody involved, and then the respondents usually say, well, in accordance with this statute, I'm not liable, and they reduce them from the suit.
So is there anything that this would encourage people to trespass onto private property?
It shouldn't. And this is pretty standard language that's being adopted by cities all over the state in response to this. This is something we want, just to be clear, this is something we want because the legislature is working really hard to establish the rules.
Which we appreciate.
For cities over 50,000, there are different rules, but for cities under 50,000, we have to specifically do this.
I just want council to note that it says for all who may be users afoot or on horse.
That's nice.
I know. That's interesting, right? Horse going down the sidewalk.
Or the trail.
Yeah, maybe, I don't think that's allowed.
I don't know. Do we have?
We've been more specified before.
No,
I
but
mean,
how about
I
on
do,
the
I guess we
trail?
do for the parades, for
Yeah.
sure, and all those things. I was just, it's the Wild West there for me. All right, so it says a recommendation, a draft resolution is attached for adoption. So this council motion to.
A motion to adopt it. Resolution 1329.
And you start the second?
I second.
You seconded it.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye, sorry, I was just
Assuming
reading.
It's okay, I didn't hear it, so.
Don't we have to read the resolution or no?
No, that's it.
No, that's ordered.
That's-
Okay.
Did you get that?
That one I got.
Okay, cool. Moving right along. The next order of business is consideration of modification to the code regarding sidewalks in the city. Looks like this started 2 years ago, and it looks like we have a problem, but then they suggested a change of language. We are being recommended that before they move the CIS in a few months, that this is brought to closure. Does anybody have, and the language is on the back of the page, does anybody have any questions or discussion?
Is that the language we're gonna use, or that's just the
It's
example?
suggested language, it'll be very similar to that, where it says, Florence or whichever city we got it from, we'll change that to Waldport, obviously. And, we'll make a few other minor changes. But fundamentally, this was just at the request of CIS, because it limits, and this is really important, it's not protecting the city so much as it's protecting CIS.
Right.
Because CIS is the one who writes the check at the end of the day.
Well, I have been part of litigation about a sidewalk before, and it was because where I worked didn't have this policy. And I wished that it did. However, the business owners did not. So this is something that business owners don't care for, and it raises their insurance considerably.
It's always been part of our code, however, that property owners are responsible for it. It's just that we don't spell it out
As
far
having to have your own insurance.
as to how to
policy.
how to deal with it.
Right,
So,
and that is what they need.
yeah, that's what they need.
So my question here is, the motion is directing staff to prepare a potential ordinance?
Yes,
In other words, this is not gonna be the ordinance?
no, we would come back with a ordinance for either March or April, after I ran it through our attorney and through CIS to make sure that it met their standard.
Everybody's happy.
And then the business owners could come to that meeting, I guess, and let us know how they feel about it.
So the 101 sidewalks, for instance, is that the same thing with them, or are those sidewalks different?
Those sidewalks along 101 are different.
That's what I thought.
Because they're ODOT.
Actually, unfortunately, they're us.
So we have.
Somehow, the agreement changed between 2005 and 2007, and the city signed an agreement to take responsibility from the sidewalks from ODOT as part of the renovation project. I cannot find, and I've looked, I cannot find any council action that authorized that. But the city manager signed it.
So the downtown corridor, this wouldn't affect them, but we do have other businesses, so.
Okay, so is there any action?
Yeah.
To bring it back.
All motion to prepare a potential ordinance.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright, anyone say that? Sorry, I can't see these mouths. Okay, so unanimous, yeah. Alright, then on to city manager's report.
Sidewalks on Crestline are essentially complete. The only thing that's left is the grant review from ODOT, and then any punch list items that they create. This is, however, the big concern because ODOT's going to come with a measuring stick, if you will, and measure the slopes on every ounce of the sidewalk. That's what we expect, and hopefully it just won't be too brutal. But they look good. They're in use. Students still seem to be walking the other side of the road, but
Adults too, it's driving me nuts.
yeah, we are gonna reach out to the school with some language and hopefully really communicate. The other thing is I've been working with a vendor to supply and get jurisdiction so that we can install the lighted crossing signs at the school and hopefully stop signs at that location. But more importantly, if we have lighted crossings there where students can press the button and walk across, maybe that will solve some of that concern. The sewers to the industrial park, this is, this is now just in an engineering phase. And this is gonna be the sewer line that runs down and then runs through a couple properties. We'll probably cut a deal with South Lincoln Resources to come through their property right through the center. Simply because they bought the lot, so they now are the one of the few property owners down there that actually straddles both sides, so that we can get up to Crestline and service everybody, and we'll make it worth South Lincoln Resources' time to do so, because that'll be convenient for us. Nothing's changed to the wastewater plant, other than we are pushing it back a little bit based on projected rainfall. That said, it's been a really weird year for rain and drought, so, but we are pushing it back just a little bit, just to be on the safe side. And again, this is just, we're turning on a big new channel for, that we need to switch one pathway to another. And during that time, we want the flow to be as small as possible. And when it's raining, we get a lot of flow. Lots has happened in Southworth Park in the last, even from this. The track has been paved. It's fantastic, really cool. Saw some kids riding bikes around it the other day. It's great. We got a contractor to do a sidewalk down to, and some pads down into the dog park and down to the track from that side. So we have accessibility now on both sides. I've got gazebos that we've spec'd out. I haven't pulled the trigger because my credit card isn't high enough to get them, but we will. That will go in the dog park. That will, and we've got picnic tables already sitting up at the shop to go into the dog park as well. That will address some of the shade and places to sit concerns. Super excited about that. And those will get installed sometime this spring, sooner hopefully. As soon as they can get shipped out here and a contractor can come and do them.
Question on the pathway to be asphalted. I noticed that there's a drop off on each side. Are we gonna?
Over time, we're going to be working on getting some slope up to there. We've got all the old cinder stored behind that we're going to kind of put around there. There was actually a suggestion, which I think is a really good idea, but nobody's taken us up on it yet, that we would sift that cinder and create some nice cinder, and that for locals we could put it in a jar and sell it as a fundraiser, help pay for the park. People who ran the track might care, but there are others who are like, no.
That stuff was awful.
So needless to say, nobody's taken us up on it, so likely it will go back around the track.
I think that's a good fix though, because if you step off of something like that.
It's really tough. It would have been a lot more damaging to the base that's in place to dig down and get it level.
Well, plus you wanted it up
A little higher takes care of some rain drainage and yeah. So yeah, lots happening there, and you're just going to continue to see a lot of improvements over Southworth over the next few months. Cedar Street is no longer scheduled to be paved. It is paved. This was a real concern with the leak that we had in the middle. So it's a street in the middle of Cedar, and we've tried multiple ways to get it not to come out through the road. But once you had that cut, it was just going to push itself through. We have put in a French drain culvert under it. We're hoping that the new pavement will encourage the water to use the most convenient path and just flow out that way. But we're just starting to see the freezing weather right now, so this could not have come at a better time. I'm super excited that Road Dragway was able to accommodate this on a very, very quick measure. And it certainly did take care of a lot of the other potholes that were on that road.
So can we go that way home tonight?
I don't know whether they'll uphold the signs or not.
I have
Maybe
a,
I
drove
this-
I came down it today.
You came down it,
Yeah,
It's
and I
over.
was the second.
It wasn't when I-
Yeah, the first person was the guy picking up the.
Oh, the little cones.
So apparently, yeah. Yeah, we will need to stripe it. There's more stuff will have to happen, so please be careful when you're taking it. But it is at least done, and hopefully will not be an ice rink. Although new pavement's always a little slick, so everybody still be careful. Website overhaul is underway. There are some inevitable delays as always, but some really cool stuff's coming with it. So just pardon our dust. We also just recently purchased and are getting installed tomorrow a bunch of new computers in the library for public access. I imagine that it will go perfectly. So please understand if the computers aren't exactly great this weekend, but it will get done. We're down to just a couple weird connectors on the roof at the interpretive center. They're trying to retool them right now, but it's just a weird, funky roof that nobody has the type of connectors that use for the little gaps anymore. So as soon as we get those, we'll get that completed, buttoned up, and then we're going to go in and replace the flooring or the carpeting in the museum, because it definitely needs it.
Yes.
So how much extra cost because it was pretty good number when we decided to do it versus replacing the roof.
Replacing the roof was $128,000. The work that we've done is under 50. We expect that this work will, the metal pieces will be less than 5 to get it completed. So that is the expectation.
Still better.
Yes. We are speccing out right now with multiple vendors, new kitchen equipment for the community center through a grant that we got a while back from the COG. Super excited to get that completed and replace some of that gear. Let's see, we've just talked about the walkway path already. The concrete walkway in the dog park, I already covered that. And again, I think that should be open fully by this weekend. I think the concrete contractor, if they haven't removed the stuff tonight, will likely be removing it tomorrow. You know, it is right at the border of steepness in terms of the initial access. There's no other real good transition way to do that, but it does meet the standard, but just barely. So we do always, as with anything, we always urge caution in using that portion. But it does provide you can walk from the garden to the other parking lot entirely on paved pathways through the park, which is nice. So, and then as expected, the 2 ethics complaints were dismissed. The ethics complaints against the council and the ethics complaints against myself were dismissed on the 6th.
Any questions from the council?
I have a comment, is that okay?
Yeah.
I can comment soon. Oh, I just wanted to say that today I was working at the school and a couple different, just like random people came up and were like, oh, that park looks so good. So that was exciting to hear.
The kids deserve it, don't they?
Yeah.
So the other piece of the city manager's report is we need to schedule the hearing on the comments or on the complaints, and we need to do that. We actually have a couple scheduling issues. We have a problem with the 21st in terms of space and availability. I was going to ask, and this is about the goals hearing and the presentation. I was going to ask that we simply just move it to the March meeting. Makes it easier. Scheduling on the 21st was just getting more and more complicated. It was already midway down. There's no, I think, severe ramification for doing so. By moving the goals to that, we'll still have plenty of time to bring anything that comes up to the budget committee. And there's time to incorporate anything that changes into the budget. So that's always been why we do the goals meeting at that time, to make sure it gets in the budget. I still think that it is time. What it means is that we will start the March meeting, if so chose, with a workshop that will last, you know, an hour to 2 hours. So that meeting might run a little longer. Otherwise, we've got just time constraints on the 21st. We can still absolutely hold it on the 21st, and I'm committed to doing so if that's what you want. It's just we do have time constraints in this space.
Okay, so I have a question. So what is that for? What is the?
So we're talking about
hearing?
goals.
No, it's hearing. The hearing.
The complaint to the town from the town got to move forward.
Okay, and so then we're not having a hearing without an investigation?
Well, right now, we were talking about the
Yeah,
goals
we're talking about
workshop.
goals.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was talking about the hearing, scheduling that and the goals workshop.
Right, okay.
And so I was curious why we're scheduling a hearing if we haven't had any investigations. Like what informs us at the hearing?
Because we got the complaints and then we were approved to move forward by CIS, correct?
I can't speak to that. I was actually going to have the attorney come talk to you at the March meeting to talk about that.
At
But-
the hearing or?
So
Oh, I'm so confused. I
So
thought you
let's
said
first
schedule
talk about-
the
We
hearing.
do, but we were talking about the workshop.
Yeah,
I think
let's
that's why
finish the
everyone's
workshop.
confused.
So what would you like to do on the December, or on the 21st workshop?
What's the time constraint?
The time constraint is there are a bunch of users in this building. Historically, we've done it at City Hall, but if we get a lot of public participation, that space becomes very constrained. So we've kind of migrated over to this building now. And so we have activities and other users both in the morning and in the afternoon. And so we can't start till 12:30, and we have to be done by 3, or we'd have to be done by 2:30, so this room could be switched for a group that's coming in at 3 o'clock.
I'm not available on the 21st at all.
Okay.
And you think there's enough time in the day? Because I feel like in the past, these have taken a couple hours.
So
Because we have to go over the trainings and everything, so
We
there
don't
would be enough time?
we don't have a lot to do in the trainings. The trainings should be pretty short since you've all served, and we did the training last, February. So we just review and make sure that you're all scheduled to take a couple trainings through, that have to be done independently through CIS, or LOC as it were now. But beyond that, it's really focusing on just discussing the goals. So every other year is a longer training workshop, and then the other year is a short goal workshop. I looked historically, the goal workshops on the off years have lasted less than 2 hours. So it would just be, we would have a workshop at the beginning of the meeting, and then you'd move into the meeting.
So then that would be March 12th, so I
Yes.
see my calendar.
So like 4 to 10.
Yeah.
I would hope not. Jerry's got a presentation that he would like to do.
Oh, yeah.
That will be part of that meeting as well. So, I mean, that meeting.
Well, and that's gonna be a conversation as well as a presentation,
Yeah,
so
that'll be good.
there's a lot of meat in it. A
So
lot of
we'll-
things to talk about. and think
I'll
about.
make sure that we don't have anything on the agenda in the March meeting that is going to be super time consuming. Because some of the stuff can move to April without too much issue. Like the sidewalk thing that we just talked about, when I bring the ordinance, it can move to the April meeting. That's not going to break. I mean, it's been 2 years. CIS isn't going to care, especially if they know we're moving forward with it. And it might take that long to get the attorney and CIS to sign off on it. So.
So then the other thing is the hearing, or discussion about hearings.
So, ideally, the attorney would like to come and talk to you about his discussions with CIS, or, the appropriateness of some of the topics. To answer the mayor's question, the outcome of the hearing would be to decide whether to take action, whether the action is warranted, whether an investigation is warranted, or whether to drop the matter. And so those are the 3 pieces that would be the outcome of that. To assign an investigation, you really have to have that preliminary hearing and have the council then come out of whether it's an open or closed session and decide whether they want to move forward.
So that would be in March.
That ideally would be in March and after the 12th. So is there a good time? Would it be a Thursday? And I know spring break is at the end of March, but I also know that there's interest in getting these done more quickly. And again, it's simply a matter of when the council wants to do it.
I vote for not spring break.
Same.
So do you wanna try to do it now, or you wanna propose email?
I think picking a date would be good, especially since there are several citizens here who are eager to see when and how. I would suggest the 19th. I think that's right before spring break.
So like a 4:30, 4 to 6 or what?
I would suggest scheduling at the exact same 4:15 time period,
Okay.
4:30 time period.
Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so just for clarification, that meeting is the hearing that we're scheduling right now? But
Yes.
the lawyer is gonna come and talk to us at the workshop?
There will be an executive session at the, well, I'm going to speak to the attorney. It might be prudent to have it before the workshop, but I will then communicate that out to you. But since you don't want the attorney just sitting around, depending on how long everything else runs, but ideally you would have the attorney come and talk to you about, these issues so that you can ask any questions and communicate any concerns that he or CIS might have brought up.
Okay, so likely the attorney will come on the 12th when we have the workshop,
Yes.
and then we'll have the hearing a week later.
Yeah, unless he chooses to do something in writing based on scheduling, and then we would change the schedule. There's a way to also have that It's just a different executive session.
Is everybody okay with that? Your schedules? Okay. Anything else? The manager's report, anybody else have any questions?
Questions on the report or council comments?
I'm still on manager's
Okay.
report. I just had one question. I'm just curious when we're gonna get a financial report or an audit report?
We had a financial report at the last council meeting in the packet that talked about the budgets and where we are in this year. We will get an audit report when the auditor is complete. We had communication with the auditor this week. They're waiting on one item that should not be material to the entire audit, but is material to a section of the audit, and that's the capital asset report. I hope to work on that this weekend and make sure that they have an updated version. And again, this is an updated version of the capital asset report based on feedback that they provided.
I did not see that in the packet. My bad. The last meeting, I guess I was not well, so I just. I'm surprised. Okay. Council comments and concerns. I'll start with you, Jerry, or you guys have? Nothing with you, Jerry? Okay,
I already said mine.
okay.
Thank you to Mike and his crew for painting that white line for the stop sign today. I almost died last weekend because someone blew through it, so like it meant a lot to me today that was there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought maybe they'd been all distracted.
We are, just to follow up on that, we are contacting multiple different companies to get an overall striping bid for striping work this spring or early summer. Our hope is to have most of the street lines that have not been done in a while redone this year.
Cool.
Did that include the, concrete curbs along the walkway?
So this is where I'm struggling a little bit with the county, and we need to get clarity. Having the county being as functional as they are right now is a little challenging. The biggest problem that we have is that we passed a motion either last summer or the summer before, basically telling the county that we wanted jurisdiction. The county has an obligation to respond, and they have not done so. It is important to note that the county commissioners in 2008 instructed county staff to proceed ahead with granting us ownership of that land. July 1st, we will have the entirety of that street surrounded by city property. So we just need jurisdiction so that we can do whatever we want. Otherwise, it really is a county street and county jurisdiction, and we have to kind of defer to them. So that's what we're really pushing right now.
Okay, Councilor.
I was wondering if, I noticed in the minutes from our last meeting that it was raised about the road possibly going through the Isaac Walton property, and questioned how the city plans to install a new grinder pump there, and I just wondered if you could comment on that.
Sure. So the grinder pump isn't installed there. It's installed back at the lift station location. And that is kind of what we're considering, although our engineers come up with a different plan, and so that's now what we're having him pursue and give us information on that so that that is better, it's more appropriate to the drainage of that location.
Okay.
He's concerned with the style of pump we were talking about, and so there's some other options. But as far as the road going through that, the Isaac Baldwin property is now city property. And we do have some restrictions in turn, or some obligations, but there's nothing that we made sure that any roadway, any access point, or anything like that was an allowed use for the city, so that we would not be restricted from being able to maintain or utilize those properties. As a great example, our long-term plan is to punch a road through the top of one of the other donations, and we will put a parking lot there so that we can have a trailhead at both the bottom and top of the Kittle Kaufman Trail. And when I say Kittle Kaufman Trail, I'm referring to the Lynch Slough Trail that has been renamed. So just so that's not confusing to everybody who's lived here for a while. But the intention is, once we have all the property permissions, that trail will go from the start of the sewer plant all the way along Lynch Slough and then up the hill to the tail end of that property where we want to create some kind of trail end.
So will this recreational immunity thing help with
Yes.
that property owner maybe to give, if those things possible?
It should help dramatically.
And one other thing, I am concerned about the drug problem we're having and why we can't get something done about it. It just seems like, I know we're short, I know the county's short of people, but it seems like relatively easy for neighbors, I'm sure that are concerned to have cameras or something that would give information to the sheriff's department to take some action.
So we have a scheduled meeting with both Yahats and ourselves with the sheriff on the 17th. It's a big problem, and we are seeing significant issues resulting from the lack of that extra deputy here. We need a better answer than we just have to wait. We need better coverage, we need better response. I will say that Sergeant Dorsey and Lieutenant Bergner have been spot on. Anytime I send them anything, they have jumped on it. But I will say that when I reviewed our monthly statistical report this month, it was quite a contrast between Yahats and ourselves. Yahats was primarily field initiated responses by the sheriff. Ours almost all had to be initiated by citizens via phone call or 911. They received 50 responses during the course of January. We received 31. 20 responses were out of the county. Again, if you look at a 50-50 split, that means Yahats is getting what they're paying for.
Yeah.
But Waldport is subsidizing the county to the tune of 20%. So we are having that meeting. It will hopefully go very well. Everyone there is very earnest and is trying very hard to make this work. But I will say that we had a report of someone who had broken into the Little League bathroom and had created a camp there and was staying there. And this is an incident where we had the sheriff's office about 2 months ago have somebody migrate away. And what's happening is they're just migrating to someplace else in town. They're not connecting them with any resources. They're not identifying where they're going. And right now, I believe that party is now migrated to the Lynn Slough or the Kilcoffin Trail. And so now we're having to send a deputy up the Kilcoffin Trail to also evict them, and they're at a spot in the trail that's actually private property, so we have to get the private property owner involved. This is just becoming I don't want to use the term whack-a-mole, because these are people with real problems and they need our assistance. But I've spent over $2,000 on cameras in the last month, getting them installed, getting them in position, because they keep breaking in our doors. They keep breaking our electrical boxes, and we will see them and call the sheriff's office, and they will just ask them to move on, and we need more than that, because they're not moving on, they're just moving elsewhere in town and creating the same issue.
So and also, we haven't seen a report from the sheriff's office for some time.
So they're transitioning staff. We've got a new deputy that is our service deputy. The reports that we're getting are just incident reports. They're not the narrative that we used to get. I'm going to bring that up with our new sergeant, who is still getting familiar with all of this, and talk about what we'd like to hopefully see.
Thank you.
I just want to make a comment because it seemed to be, use the term, and city manager, I'm sorry, we're picking on the sheriff's department. For those that don't know, yesterday was one hell of a day for our law enforcement and fire departments. You get to look at Facebook. I can look at Garrett. I know I was with him for several hours yesterday. Devil's Churn, and then we had an aircraft that went down, or didn't go down, kind of stayed up. We had an individual that shot his hand, and so I can tell you those deputies are everywhere. So are the troopers that you have around, and they're doing the best they got for the funds they get. And I can tell you with the deputy side, there's six people there, and those are not in academy. People are not signing up to be deputies. So I can tell you they're doing it as best they can. I hope the conversation goes well. because I know that they're doing everything they can for our city.
I think the challenge is not that they're not doing it, it's that they're understaffed. And one of the tough decisions that we have to make, and, you know, this is a conversation I had with Bobby, the city manager in the House yesterday for quite a long time. One of the tough decisions we have to make is for the betterment of Waldport, whether we continue the contract with Yahoo or not. Because if we don't, then we revert, because they have not been expressed that they can support a full-time veteran. If we're unwilling to continue the split, we would then be able to afford, or be able to bring that deputy here full-time. And that's a tough decision because I don't want to leave our partner city in the lurch. And like I said, Bobby and I spent some time talking about it, but we've got to do something because we just need more help.
That's all I have.
I don't have any.
Well, I found some memo that I would like to bring to you. Pass it down. I just wrote up a review for myself, after there was the statement put up on the city website on Wednesday the 21st. There's been a lot of comments made by the city about, what I did or am doing, and, so to clarify that, I wrote this review, and then I'll submit it for public document. For the sake of time, I don't know if you really want me to read the whole thing, because it's 2 pages, but I just want to briefly say that before I was mayor, Township 13 brought up concerns that they had, and as mayor, I listened to their concerns, and what it ultimately boils down to is that my issues weren't about the use of the landfill or the use of the property. My issues are that there's 2 properties that aren't public facilities. And so they need to be determined by a CUP with those uses, a conditional use permit. And so I go into detail and I explain it because I don't want to take up your time. But I just wanted to have a chance to share with you that there's more to it than what was being presented. And I hope that I get to present more about my perspective of what's going on.
Can I ask a question? If we're gonna be open and honest and you get to share that, can you explain to us why you were posting on your website that you want people to file ethics violations and we didn't do anything wrong? And you weren't even here to see if we did?
Okay, so I'm not gonna get into a debate.
I just wanna know
But
why.
as mayor, I can offer people support to put in their complaints. And I can walk people through when they have complaints.
But you're basically calling for people to do it, not even knowing if we had a violation if you weren't here.
No, other people did say there was lots of violations. I watched the video and saw the violations. And people
There
can
is no
submit.
video of the executive session.
No, there was a video of the votes after the executive session. And so that's what the complaints are about.
I would assume that after having your report, your review, that we would also have a response from city government as to how they see this and whether they feel like you're correct or you're incorrect and why.
Sure, but really this is about you, because we are the supervisors of the
That's
city.
true.
So I'm presenting this to you as my peers,
Right.
to converse as your peer, and to work with you
Right.
as to what happened, because I was never asked, and it was only presented from the city staff. I have not been asked what has happened, or what I did, or how I was involved, or what came out of what happened, which is why you got the public comment from Teresa Carter today, to explain to you that DEQ did respond to her
Right.
investigation.
I guess the part I'm specifically talking about is your assumption or your belief as to what zoning laws apply, what access is
I'm
and is
just
not.
going by the laws and the advice I get from
Wow.
people,
Right.
and that's what we're supposed to do, is get us informed and do our due
Right,
diligence.
Right, and part of that would also be from city staff.
Yeah, which is why I went to the workshop, and that's where I got all the information about the easements.
Great.
All right, excellent. Anything else?
Yeah, so that land, you keep saying it's public because taxpayers pay it.
So should I read this out loud?
Well, no, I
So
just,
feel
I
like
just,
should
I
take
had a
the
question, I
time.
just wanted to make a
Well, if
comment.
I would like to come back and discuss this
Okay.
grade, because I don't think it's fair for us to discuss it, because the public hasn't had a chance to read it, you
Right.
haven't had a chance to read it. So I welcome this discussion, and I hope that we have time in March to further this discussion.
We'll have lots of time in March.
I would like to bring up one more thing, as it came to this table about your ethics from the last meeting. I was included in that and I wasn't there.
Great, thank you.
And I didn't appreciate the fact that I was put into that and I received an ethics complaint.
Well,
I wasn't here.
I apologize for that.
So
I don't get to
would
decide
hope
which-
to-
I don't get to decide which counselors are in that complaint.
Well, they go to personally to each
Yeah, so
council.
you
Right.
put who they
So-
were to.
I need that to be retracted if you have an opportunity to do something about
I
that.
will be happy to do that.
Will this statement be on the city's website so it can be made public?
That's a great question. Will
I'm
this
happy
be-
to do that.
But this one-
Yeah.
And I'll be happy to give you a copy as well. All right,
I'd like to ask the mayor if, Scotty, have you gone through the state-required training with the legal organ cities on
yes,
public meetings law?
yes.
When did you do that?
I did it in 20, and then I
No.
did it again in 23, and then I'm, okay, sorry.
But not since May.
All right, anything else? And I just want to make the statement, Tom, that when I make a violation complaint to the Ethics Commission, I'm not being the judge or deciding what the complaint or violation is. That's what they do. That's what they do.
And that's when we decided it's illegal.
All right. And they can decide that I'm wrong, and that's great, or they can decide that I'm not. And you guys can make complaints too, if that's what you see fit. Is there anyone else that has any more comments? Okay, with that, I adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm very knowledgeable about
Well, folks, definitely a lot of stuff going on in this meeting today. Looks like there will be progress moving forward in dealing with the complaints against Dan Cutter, the city manager.
Yeah.
Looks like there will be clarification upcoming about the property designations of the Lund Slough. Very interesting stuff, folks. Thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next one. Rebel with the Cause out.